May 2021. Lockdown is beginning to ease in the UK. Students are beginning to return to their accommodation. Exams are starting and assignments are picking up. The world is still in flames. After all, when isn't it? To escape the impending doom of the real world, there's social media. And on social media, there are murmurings that male K-pop idol of the 2.5-year-old boy group 80s, Kang Yeosang, has been lovingly nicknamed Aphrodite by Korean fans. Well, it makes sense, doesn't it? To most outsiders, K-pop is the realm of pretty boys with feminine faces and legions of obsessive teenage fans with undying loyalty. Aphrodite is the ancient Greek goddess of love and beauty. Her myths are deeply associated with this sort of undying affection. Countless mortals succumb to her charms, either when she toys with their own feelings for their fellows or when she seduces them herself. To insiders, Yeosang is one of the two visuals of the group, a term that refers to the members which are deemed most physically attractive by Korean beauty standards. When people call him Aphrodite, they liken him to the goddess of beauty. They're complimenting his beauty. It's a compliment and a term of endearment. It's cute. But maybe there's more to it. Because few of either group stop to consider the significance of a group of Korean fans referring to an idol with the name of a Greek goddess, and what that might mean for our understanding of Greek mythology in the modern world.
Most know K-pop for its intense training regime, exposed by many ex-trainees and group members, or its scandals, such as the infamous Burning Sun, or any number of the many idol bullying rumours that the BBC have reported, while neglecting to report that any of these have been debunked, so much for journalistic integrity. And if they haven't encountered any of this, they've encountered the fans, often perceived as rabid and delusional, not even allowing their beloved idols to date. And while there is an intense training regime and there are horrifying scandals and rabid fans who put allegiance to their idols above their own morality, that's not what it is that draws people into K-pop. The beauty of K-pop is in the well thought out concepts that centre around a specific theme, usually referred to with a shorthand such as dark, girl crush, royal, school and so many more, which elevate the music and surrounding promotion with a cohesive aesthetic and storyline. And the music isn't only sold with a CD, a download and a video. There come photo books, stickers, Polaroids and postcards, merchandise that's designed to fit the specific aesthetic vibe of each era. Artists will often have a unique colour, a central concept that carries through each of their releases in some way, but more so than that, they're not simply musicians, they're entertainers. Artists will usually have an extensive social media presence and will have ways to interact with fans through live streams, as well as vlog their daily lives and go on many reality television shows to market themselves as people as well as artists. It's the feeding of this parasocial relationship that drives the success of the industry. Liking a K-pop artist is more similar to liking a YouTuber than liking a Western artist. This is the system Kang Yeosang, 80s' Aphrodite, is a part of. 80s themselves are an 8-member group with an extensive storyline based around pirates, alternate universes and interdimensional travel that would take years to completely unwind. It's easy to see the appeal when there's so much for fans to sink their teeth into. Often, as Westerners, we fall into one of two traps, either believing that our cultural shorthands are universal, or that they are not understood by anyone outside of the West. The truth is far more nuanced. As the descendants of nations of colonisers, we live in a society that has forcibly imposed its culture onto every territory it attempted to claim. In the age of the internet, YouTube, Netflix and Disney+, it's easy for people around the world to access the works produced by our cultural environment. It's the unintended realisation of an assimilation that was started centuries ago. When it comes to classics, the Disney movie Hercules was released to the South Korean market in 1997. Zack Snyder's 300 was released to the same market 10 years later. Greek mythology is in fact not as foreign in South Korea as one might think. In 2012, a museum dedicated to the subject was opened on the island of Jeju, a popular tourist destination. On the same island, the honeymoon destination of Loveland even depicts a satyr and a nymph, fornicating. Though their culture may not be as saturated with classical mythology as ours is in the West, it doesn't mean that they have no knowledge whatsoever of the subject, and it would be close-minded to assume such a thing. In fact, our friends 80s are no strangers to classical references themselves. Members Wooyoung and San use the phrase amicus ad aras to refer to their friendship, a paraphrasing of the famous Latin phrase amicus usque ad aras, meaning a friend as far as to the altars, traditionally meaning one's only higher allegiance is to the gods. Wooyoung even has the phrase tattooed on his body. Classical allusions don't remain merely in the realm of casual interactions and fan discussion though.
I start with Yeosang not only out of interest in the South Korean perception of Aphrodite, but for another reason. His group have also referenced the classics on the stage of their performances. In early December of 2020, Mnet, a Korean broadcasting agency, hosted the Mnet Asian Music Awards, upon which were performed a trio of special stages to promote their upcoming reality television show, Kingdom. The performances were by the three groups already confirmed to be competing: The Boys, Stray Kids, and, of course, 80s. The Boys focused more on a royal concept for their performance, but Stray Kids and 80s both incorporated classical elements into their stages to elevate the storyline and announce their presence as serious competitors. 80s' Aphrodite performed on stage surrounded by what many have speculated are corpse soldiers, wearing helmets reminiscent of the Roman plumes we see in artwork, and, with the gothic theme, costumes, as well as the dark and intense stage design, fans were quick to draw a connection with Hades, the mythological underworld of Greek and Roman mythology. However, more explicitly classical in influence was the group Stray Kids, who not only featured hoplite soldiers in their performance, but also lifted the tagline "Prepare for Glory" straight from the movie 300. If Hercules is the at least somewhat wholesome side of the classically inaccurate side of the coin, 300 is the other side. The movie is based off of the comic of the same name, both written by Frank Miller, who stated that his intention was to get back at the Middle East for terrorism. Essentially, it's Islamophobic pro-military propaganda masquerading as historical fanfiction. The comic is inaccurate in its portrayal of the Spartan mindset. They call the Athenians boy lovers, when Sparta was known for its pederastic society. The movie is inaccurate, both in that and in its costume design and a fair amount of its military technique. Not to mention the politics of casting the Persians, but that's an issue for another day, and one I'm sure has been covered far better in videos dedicated to the subject specifically. Though in a modern context one would hope that the racism within it is obvious to any viewer, divorced from any context of its originator or an in-depth understanding of the US-Afghanistan conflict that is most accessible to those of the population who speak English or live through it, it becomes just another action movie set in Greece. And if it is just another action movie set in ancient Greece, there is no issue in plucking inspiration from it, in referencing it. The performance led to a short-lived online controversy in which Middle Eastern fans were upset with this movie being referenced by their favourite idol, and other fans ignored them or claimed that the performance was based off the real historical conflict rather than the movie. It, like most other controversies surrounding K-pop groups, was swept under the rug and quickly forgotten about. This is the problem. A surface-level understanding of classical history and mythology leads to situations like these, where a lack of knowledge of the reality of a historical situation can lead a layperson to believe that a Hollywood movie, of all things, offers some sort of accurate portrayal of a historical conflict. Human nature is to take what we like of something, while ignoring and discarding the parts we don't. And that's if we're even aware of those parts to begin with. A tagline, an aesthetic, a name. But when an artist truly understands their source material, the product created is something beautiful. Vixx are a 6-member group formed in 2012, known among the industry for their exceptionally detailed and well-developed concepts. In 2016, they released their conception trilogy based on the Greek gods Zelos, Hades, and Kratos. Already, their unique depth of knowledge is obvious in that they know of the existence of Zelos and Kratos, two deities not commonly known among laypeople. The breadth of their research only becomes more clear with each installment in the trilogy. Dynamite is the first installment in the Conception trilogy and centers around a god referred to in Hesiod's Theogony as the son of Styx and Pallas. He is the god of jealousy, Zelos. The lyrics of the song begin to tell the first part of the story, speaking of a love interest that appears to be straying for another man. Maybe I'm jealous. They convey a sense of doom about the relationship, expressing that they feel as if it's coming to an end. I already see doom. Zelos corrupts the thoughts of good men and turns them against others when otherwise they shouldn't be. I'm gonna be temperamental just for today. I'm gonna be crooked just for today. I was supposed to be the hero, but I've become the villain, and she went from Snow White to a witch overnight. Here we can see a modern interpretation of Works and Days and Kinegetica merged together. Envy, Zelos, foul-mouthed, delighting in evil with scowling face, will go along with wretched men, one and all. And, O Father Zeus, how fierce a heart hath Zelos! Him hast thou made, O Lord, mightier than nature to behold, and has given him the bitter force of fire, and in his right hand has vouchsafed to him wear a sword of adamant. He preserves not when he comes, dear children to their loving parents. He knows nor comrade, nor kin, nor cousin, when he intervenes grievous and unspeakable. He also in former times arrayed against their own children heroes themselves and humble heroines, both rolled into one song. Zelos turns heroes to villains, and Vixx introduced their trilogy with this idea that they too have been made villains by the god of jealousy. The imagery of the video also emphasizes the nature of Zelos. The love interest appears, veiled and dressed in white with another man, standing at the center of what resembles an arena, with male mannequins populating the stands. But the man she's with never shows his face.
So I made a mistake that I only realised in post, and he does actually show his face to the camera. It's one of the members, it's Leo. What can you do? It doesn't really affect what I was saying, I don't think, too much. The point that I'm making is she's still not actually in a wedding dress. Like, you'll see, I don't want to spoil too much of my analysis, but yeah, just keep in mind that he's not actually a faceless man. It's one of the members. I don't know how I didn't notice that before. I think it was just, my mind was just absolutely fried from watching the music videos so many times already, and yeah, that is it.
And her outfit only resembles wedding attire. None of it is real. Zelos creates jealousy where none should exist. The line, "You are the tilted moon over there," appears, as well as several close-ups of eyes on members' hands, a theme which will appear to link each of the installments in the trilogy together, as well as to show that something isn't quite right. The second installment in the trilogy is Hades, with the song Fantasy. Hades is, contrary to common belief, not the god of death, but the god of the underworld. He, Zeus and Poseidon, govern over the three realms of the earth, the sky, the sea, and the underworld. The lyrics of the song itself link back to Dynamite by referencing the moon. Pain comes up like thorns, like a night that lost the moon. The end of you is me. The addiction that fills me, pierces my heart. My burnt and black heaven. Your existence is heaven and hell, the standard to divide that line. I promise to be your angel. The song itself references the pain of being in love with someone who you can only access through a fantasy. In itself, the only references to Hades appear in the form of speaking of a burnt and black heaven, which is similar to how writers have described the appearance of the less desirable parts of the underworld, and a reference to addiction, which calls back to Persephone eating the pomegranate which forces her to stay in Hades. The line, "I promise to be your angel," refers back to Dynamite, where we hear them sing about how they've been turned from heroes to villains by jealousy. The video is what completes the reference and the embodiment of Hades. In it, there are depictions of travelling on a boat lit only by candles. One would have to cross the river Styx on a boat to enter the underworld. We also see a banquet laid out. If one eats any of the food in the underworld, they will then belong to it. The visual references are what highlight most that this is Hades. It's the story of a lover that has been lost to the underworld and now can only be seen in fantasies. In addition to the lyrics referencing Persephone, the imagery of the video also references other stories of women who were trapped in the underworld, such as the myth of a child Helen, yes, that Helen, being captured by two Greek heroes and tied up along with Persephone, a situation which was obviously hastily reversed so that she could go back home and then be captured by Paris and start the Trojan War. But that's a story for another day. It's hard to miss the implication that, with the connecting theme of eye imagery, something has happened in between Dynamite and Fantasy. Something very bad. Kratos is the final part of Vixx's Conception trilogy. And the god embodied in their song The Closer is Kratos, the god of strength, the son of Styx and Pallas, making him Zeus's brother. The video itself portrays the group members as observers of a disaster that appears to have been frozen in time, with them walking past images of a car crashing into a wall, alcohol being poured and spilled, the love interest being dragged away, seemingly reluctantly. Throughout the whole music video, it seems that we're meant to understand that we are watching snapshots of a tragedy. Only the concept film has the scenes of the music video in actual motion, providing some sort of indication as to what has happened to lead up to the events of the music video. You're the one everyone here wants. I'll push them away and monopolize you so no one can dare lay their eyes on you. When I hesitate, you'll widen the space and escape. Let them know I'm the winner who will have you. On the surface, the song seems to be about sex. It talks about breathing in your breath and sharing your bodies, but when you dig a little deeper, it's about pursuing a woman who is wanted by everyone else. When you combine it with the music video and the context of the previous two installments in the Conception trilogy, it takes on a whole new meaning. The song is no longer sensual but frightening. The self-perceived strength has led to a crisis that destroyed the good that had once been there. Member Ken is the only one who moves throughout the final part of the video, and he is the one who sings the line, and it's over. In Greek tragedies, there would be a chorus to sing the ending of the story. Ken serves the purpose of the chorus in the Conception trilogy. He marks the end of the story, and he tells us what has happened.
Aphrodite is not known to like comparisons. In one of her most well-known myths, she torments the princess Psyche for being compared to her in terms of her beauty, engineering her marriage to a monster. Of course, I highly doubt any fans are concerned about incurring the wrath of the goddess Aphrodite onto their favourite K-pop idol, but it is interesting to see how the meaning of her divinity has been translated without the meaning of the crime of hubris, and without the less palatable parts of her mythos. Again, most likely because the versions presented are the versions that are present in films, which were marketed worldwide, these usually being ones that are aimed at younger audiences or families. However, presenting oneself in the image of a god is a trend as old as the gods themselves, and is acceptable, just so long as you don't claim to be the god or superior to them. And artists have always used living, mortal models for their statues of the gods. We may, as classicists, see Yeosang as a model for Aphrodite, a face for her to wear. Aphrodite is not merely a goddess of beauty, however. She is a goddess of love. She is the object of people's affection and desire. Often, she is associated with lust and sexuality, but it's important to remember that she is, too, truly in love with love. She is the one who assists mortals in their romantic endeavours. She is the one who makes Galatea into a real woman after she sees Pygmalion long for her. She provides Paris with the woman he loves, however dubiously we may view that story now. Idols are too the object of their fans' affection and desire, yes, but there is an underappreciated beauty in comparing Yeosang to Aphrodite. It implies that he is an individual who is loving, who values that specific type of affection and belonging, and whether the connection is intentional or not perhaps doesn't really matter, because it's been made nonetheless. K-pop is a medium perfect for complex and rich concepts to be conveyed through storylines that span across multiple releases and often multiple stage performances. This is what makes it such a perfect space to present mythology and classical history to the world. Even if these references are small and mostly in the fansphere, they still prompt fans to look deeper into the classics. When this is then brought to the next level, with actual performances, an even deeper interest is founded. But the highest appreciation is in the works that make it clear that they've studied the source material themselves and understood it to the clearest degree, and that are trying to portray it with accuracy as well as creativity. Vixx themselves have an in-depth knowledge of Greek mythology. They know what they're talking about. K-pop has positioned itself with its space for such rich concepts and performances, with the depth of idol personas and fan communities, to be the perfect environment for such love letters to the classics. It's inevitable that there will be some surface level displays, but these still have value for the discussions they spark about the way the classics are received by those who produce them. And a good performance is still a good performance, even if it is not perfectly historically accurate.
In this video, we talked about 80s, Stray Kids, and Vixx, but the absence of another group with an extremely notable classical-themed release is likely glaring to any viewers who are aware of them. Do not fear, my friends, we have not forgotten the current gods dominating K-pop with all their theatrics and lyrical prowess. For in part 2, we discuss the ever-present and almighty household name of BTS.
We, these down, yogi, let's do it.